the ways that maritime history can be useful in genealogy um, are I think quite remarkable. Now, of course, some people would like to just add leaves to the tree. I think that's a really great expression. Maybe you're writing your family history and you'd like to add a picture of the cruise ship that your grandparents took a cruise on for their honeymoon. And that would be a nice little bit that you want to add. But there are lots of other things where you can really learn about your family, even if your own ancestors aren't mentioned at all. For example, if you know that an ancestor served on a particular vessel in a navy from one date to another date, then you can search for a history of that particular vessel. And when you learn what happened to that vessel, you are then also learning what happened to your ancestor. And I think that's really valuable, especially if it's someone who maybe didn't talk very much about their experiences during wartime, for example, before they passed, perhaps. It is possible to find a logbook, not a logbook, but a journal, say something that a record that someone kept of the vessel of the voyage that one of your ancestors emigrated on. More and more of these records are digitized, or they have been cataloged and can be and are recorded in directories online. And so if you found one of these that you knew was for the voyage that your ancestor sailed on, maybe it doesn't mention your ancestor, but I mean, maybe it does. That would be pretty crazy too. But it could still give you an idea of what that experience was like, whether it is a logbook recorded sort of by the vessel or a journal kept privately by a passenger on board or maybe by a crew member or something like that. So there are a lot of different ways that I think that vessel research can impact how you do genealogy. But there are also other ways, the things that you can find that matter, and in maritime history. And a couple of those I'd like to point out. So I know we have a couple of people from Washington State. I was born and raised in Seattle, and I live in upstate New York now, but I consider Seattle my home. And some of you may recognize this fantastic picture. This is one of my favorite shots of all time of the Monongahela, the last tall ship being towed out of Lake Union as the Aurora Bridge is being completed. And this is something that we can find. It's if you didn't know that it existed, and you didn't know that it existed in the collection of the Puget Sound Maritime Historical Society, or you didn't know that PSMHS existed, you'd have a really hard time finding it. And one of the things that ShipIndex can do is to help you find those types of things that you wouldn't otherwise find. This is another little bit of Northwest history this is for when I'm thinking about regional history, this is the equator, a decaying, perhaps now decayed ship in the port of Everett, which is being recorded and like the Wawona, the vessel won't survive, but records of it will. And then some folks may have seen this story from just from yesterday about the Huronton, which is a ship that sank 80 years ago in the Great Lakes. So there's all kinds of things. These things are still being discovered and they're being explored. And when you're looking for information about these vessels, it's tough to know where to go. And I believe that ShipIndex is actually a great place to do that in many different instances. But ShipIndex is a great place to start for doing a lot of research on ships. A little bit of background of the database. It tells you what books, magazines, websites, databases, whatever, mention the vessels that you would like to know more about. There are over 1,100 different resources. Those mean books or runs of magazines or websites or other databases that are listed in the database, with over 3.3 million different citations in that database. There's a free version of the database, which has over 150,000 citations from 74 resources. This is what that part is what I created when I was doing this just as a sort of side project, working as a reference librarian at the University of Washington in Seattle. Since turning this into a full-fledged company, everything else plus essentially everything else has gone into the subscription database. The cost for the subscription database is $6 for 2 weeks of access, up to $65 for a year of access. And you can find you may find that a library near you also has access as well, or a maritime museum can provide access for you. If they subscribe, you can use it there. So I'm going to provide some examples, do some searching here to show you what you can do with the database. Now, I am logged in right now, but there's a fair bit that you can find when you're not logged in also. So I'll take a search for Stafford, say, and now I'm finding information about a couple of different vessels, and then I'm going to dive in a little bit further to that. So what I have here, what we've done is we've taken all of these different indexes to these books and these magazines and things. We put them into this one big database. So I found 129 citations from 51 different resources for ships named Stafford. Sometimes I don't really know much else about them, although I can look at this and see that this is a history of the United States naval operations in World War II, so I have a good sense that that's probably not an emigrant ship, for example. And this one's from the Complete Book of Emigrants, so that's probably not a naval vessel. And as we go further down, we find, I'll just scroll kind of quickly down, you'll find a little bit more information about each of these. This is the information that came from the citation that we have scanned and then put into the database. So here's Stafford, this American whale ship that's in the returns of whaling vessels sailing from American ports, and a variety of other things. And I will come back to this Stafford here in WorldCat in a little bit. But I want to highlight this Stafford here, which is sort of like a special Stafford, because this is one where we know exactly which hull, exactly which vessel we are talking about. And I've been able to bring in this picture of this vessel from Wikipedia or Wikidata, basically. And so these are specifically the Stafford that was known as DE-411, and is described in a couple of different resources. Now, one thing that I want to highlight is this exact match bit here. It says, see other matching ships. I'm not quite sure what we'll find in this case, so we'll take a look. But if you search for if you're searching for a ship that has a couple of words in it, and you look for just one of them, say you're looking for City of Stafford, and you just typed in Stafford, which is a reasonable approach to take, it's important to know that there are all these other bits, all these other citations that exist in here as well. Now, you may be looking at these and saying, well, Belladonna, that doesn't say Stafford anywhere in it. But if I click on it somewhere in here, I'm just using the search tool in my browser, I find there's an entry for a ship from Stafford, Virginia. And that's why it appeared here. There's some advanced searching that you can do in the database. It's kind of funny. The ways of doing it are a little bit weird, but if you do at ship name and then Stafford, you will get all of the ships that have the word Stafford somewhere in the name of the vessel. And there's even more that you can do here. If you said, oh, I only want to see the ones that end with Stafford, you can do that as well. And the reason that you might want to do this is because, let's see, you might be doing, I'm trying to think what, you did falls of, okay, so there's not as many as I expected there, but we find a fair number of them. And that's one way that you can do some searching, do some sort of customized searching in here. And when you click on the help button, you will find all of the directions for doing all of these different ways of searching in the database. I want to go back to where I started when I was looking at Stafford, because I want to highlight, again, sometimes you'll find a link like this one, Dictionary of American Naval Fighting Ships. This will take you directly to that resource, and it will give you a history of that particular resource, that particular ship. If we have a link that we'll take you there whenever we can. Some of these will have links to the pages. Now, I don't know if this one's going to work for me or not. I'm taking a little bit of a risk here because I think there have been some changes in how HathiTrust is working. So it's not quite pulling up the pages. We're trying to get that figured out, and we'll get that fixed soon. But I know that there was an entry for, so we had seen that Stafford that was a whaling vessel. These are one of the, this is what I love about this resource. There's so many different things that exist out there, and it's hard to know what you might find if you don't learn about them. The city of New Bedford, which was a great, huge whaling port, has digitized all of these records about whaling voyages out of New Bedford. And so this is for the vessel Stafford that sailed out in 1854, returned in 1857. And here's the information of the names of the individuals who are on there. And over here, there's this is their lay. So they told Lyman Fowler, you're going to get 150th of this, of what you earn. And 150 is a pretty big number, right? And Lyman, perhaps not having had a full education, thought that 150 is a big number, not thinking that they're going to give him 1/150th of the profits of that particular voyage. And actually, he was probably going to lose all of it when he was buying stuff that he needed from the slop chest on board. So it was pretty tough being a whaler in the 1850s. You can see the Seth Barker, the mate there, he had a 1/18th lay, so he was going to do a whole lot better than our buddy Lyman there. This is an entry in WorldCat, and WorldCat is, and these, the WorldCat links are actually in the free database. And one of the neat things that you can find here is all kinds of books that are either by or about the vessel in question. So we clicked on the Stafford, and here is a sketch of the old New Bedford whaling bark Stafford and the whaling industry. Here's the Emerald Bark whaling logbook, and WorldCat has made some changes. My guess is that probably in this, the Stafford is mentioned because it was spoken. That's not meaning that they met in the middle of the ocean. Somewhere is the word Stafford here. It doesn't quite have the specificity that it used to, but it can still be quite useful. And what you can do here is you can see, this logbook is in the Phillips Library at Peabody Essex Museum. So that's pretty neat.